Hey everybody, this is TJR.
This is Superfan.
Say hello to our little friend. And it's Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, as we shoot this. It's funny how things sometimes work out. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. The other week, I realized that I had never picked up Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings albums on vinyl. You know, when they were coming out, it was CDs for me at that point. I wasn't into vinyl at that point. I didn't have a turntable really, and I was just getting things on CD. And I found out that this album here, which was the first album I ever got from her, was starting to go out of print. You couldn't find it anymore, and so I purchased it new while I still could. And I did a little unboxing of this album on the Patreon page where I talked about her as an artist and talked about her band's connection to the Back to Black album by Amy Winehouse, her very, celebrated album, and talked about that on the Patreon channel. And mentioned that, I need to pick up the other albums by her, a little at a time. Can't buy them all at once, got to space it out, for budgetary reasons. And after I made that video for the patrons and, check this one out, I decided, I should start that process of getting their albums, not thinking to myself, hey, Memorial Day weekend is almost here.
There's always sales.
There's going to be sales and, budget. As much as I love doing this, budget, Nobody sends me stuff for free around here. So I ordered that, and then, of course, the sales happened. And You Discover Music had a sale. I even posted it on the forum page here on the channel. I thought maybe some of you might be interested in knowing about it. So that's something I want to try to do when there are these really hot sales, is maybe put it there so if you want to look, you can. By the way, none of these merchants give me anything for doing this. I just do it because I think, hey, you might want to know this is going on.
Because you're an enabler.
I'm an enabler, yes. I'm enabling people to buy stuff. But anyways, though, so You Discover Music has a weekend sale going all weekend long. I picked up a couple things. Merch Bar had some stuff, and then those have not arrived yet, but this arrived today. And while we were out today, you stopped at an antique mall.
Yeah, we went to get some breakfast.
Superfan wanted to stop at an antique mall, and they always have used records there, but I'm leery about buying records from them, though I have got some good stuff there. Sometimes I pay a little more than I normally would because they're charging more, but I see something. Well, I see something that says, "Oh, you're here now. It's here now." But I picked up two things here that I want to show you here, two vintage items, plus something else came in too. So we're doing just a Memorial Day weekend unboxing here of what we got here. Like I said, I talked to the patrons about this artist, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, and sadly, she's no longer with us. But back when she was, and back when her albums were coming out during the 2000s, this first half of the 2000s.
Well, the first decade.
First decade of the 2000s. Yeah, you're right. Not first half. We're not even at the first half of the 2000s at this point. But the first decade, that's what I meant. Thank you, Superfan. But during that time, like I said, I picked up most of her albums, and I talked about her on the Music Worth Buying show that Robert and I used to do. And so it's good to talk about her again. But we do have a couple of releases here from her. Interesting how this is done. They put one album separate, but one album they separately boxed. Odd. I mean, it's still good packaging, but still that's kind of weird. Let's set that aside.
I think it's just how it comes to them.
I guess so.
Because that's, I think, factory packaging.
Yeah.
For shipping.
I guess so.
And that's factory packaging for a store.
So let's open, here, we might as well show these together here. Let's open this smaller box up here. Get that going. And we can discuss this. And here we go. Here it is. So if you're not familiar with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. When you listen to one of their albums, and these were all recorded, during the early part of the 2000s. But when you listen to her albums, you will think that you're listening to lost recordings from the Motown era, classic Motown era.
Or when you look at her albums, too.
That were never released. Yeah, when you look at them, too, you'll think they were, you think they were vintage records. But, and when you hear them, you'll think, wow, these sound like they were recorded back in the day. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very good way. And the reason is because they would record their albums on on vintage recording equipment.
Yeah.
Vintage recording equipment is what they
All
recorded their
analog.
albums. They had their own studio. The label Daptone Recording Records had their own studio, and they, had, like I said, used vintage gear. They used modern gear, of course, too. Naturally, of course, because they're releasing CDs and digital, releases too. So here we go. Here is the first one. It's called Soul Time. And I remember this one, I could only buy it digitally at one point in time. I couldn't get it physically. And so now it's available physically. And for a while now, like I said, these releases have been available pretty inexpensively, and they still are. This is another album here called I Learned the Hard Way. And again, you can see here, there is this whole vintage aesthetic to it and how it looks.
To the point of, I just noticed on this,
Yeah,
when you were showing it to the people,
yeah. What
the
did you
barcode
notice?
is only on the sticker.
You're right. Barcode's only on the sticker. You're absolutely right, yeah. But this is, when you hear these,
And this one too, it's a sticker on the back of but it's outside. It's
Yeah.
not on the.
but this is like, you're listening to like vintage Motown soul music, and it's just amazing sounding. It's as good as the stuff that it's emulating. It's as good as that. And yeah, but everybody I've ever played Sharon Jones for, they kind of they listen, they think this is really good, but who is this? I don't think I've ever heard this before. I says, because it's new. It's within the last 10 years, roughly. Yeah. Sadly, Sharon Jones passed away. There is a documentary film about her that you can find out there, probably on streaming, that I'd recommend you watch. And these are just on standard vinyl here. Let's take a look here. Yeah. But
But they are in a polyline sleeve.
yeah, they're on polyline sleeves. Yeah. And but yeah. So I've been thinking. I was thinking to myself recently, you've got these albums on CD, but why haven't you bought them on vinyl yet? I mean, they were recorded all analog. These are analog transfers. Why don't you pick these up? These are new record, done here in the 21st century. So I wanted to, so these came in, these were the first two that came in. And I noticed it says here on this one here, stereo compatible up on the top here.
Well, no, they talked about that in the documentary, that they intentionally made them look like vintage recordings.
Yeah.
Because they were targeting that audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people think these are, that they're not 21st century. But anyways, though, yeah.
And
so
that's the reason for the clothing and everything.
I talked in some more detail about this on the Patreon, but if you've never listened to these, if you love soul music like I do, if you love early Motown, vintage, the golden era of Motown, check these out. You will not be disappointed. They're all amazing. And there's some more albums by her that I'll be picking up, but I gotta wait. But yeah, I realized that the first album here that I showed you here, which was the first album I ever heard by her, couldn't be found on Amazon anymore. It was, so it was gone. And but I found a retailer that still had it brand new and shrink wrapped. They even sent it in a resealable sleeve, even though it was shrink wrapped. They still did the effort of doing that here. And and just like I said, these are just great albums. So hopefully, if check this out on streaming at the very least, if you have the opportunity. So the antique store. I'll show these here that we picked up here, or that I picked up, I should say. Both of these were still in their original shrink wrap. They weren't sealed, but they were still in their original shrink wrapped. And this, of course, is Headquarters by the Monkees. I was never really a Monkees fan. Robert Kinsler actually.
Monkees fan, yeah.
He was a huge Monkees fan. And when he first talked about the Monkees, I was like, seriously, dude, the Monkees? In my head, I was thinking that. But then I began to learn more about them and how, while they started out as like a manufactured TV band, they had a huge desire to be taken seriously as musicians and as artists, and wanted to have more control over their releases and write their own songs, play on their recordings. And this was Headquarters. This was the first album where they did that. They played on all the recordings, and they do talk about here in the notes here on the back about their, other musicians did, help them. Of course, they were fighting at the time a lot of stigma against them, for being a TV band, not a real band. And, but yeah, I respected the idea that they actually thought it was important to be taken seriously as a band and as musicians. And so this is one of two of the only Monkee albums I've ever owned. There's this one. I also own Head, which is the soundtrack to the motion picture. Robert and I talked about that movie in a video. If you've never seen Head, Head is a very mind-blowing film, in my opinion. I was actually very impressed with it as a film. Although I didn't get it on the first viewing, but with each subsequent viewing, it got better and better for me. But found this one here, like I said, still in its shrink wrap. I'm going to take this off here, though. But I looked at the record, which is on the turntable right now, being digitized as we're doing this. TJR and Superfan from the future. Interrupting TJR and Superfan from the past. And it occurred to me afterwards that since I had this on the turntable transferring, that you'd probably want to at least see, like I did with the other one, at least see the label here, the original Cold Gems label and all that. Cold Gems Records. And anyways, if you know if this makes it a first pressing or not, let me know. I'm just curious, but either way, it sounds great. Anyways, let's go back to ourselves in the past. Bye.
Bye.
But
sounded really, really good.
Yeah, we played it. I looked at it.
Sounded like new vinyl.
Yeah, it was just dusty. It was just dirty. And like I said, I thought, this is priced really inexpensively for it in being in such great condition. The cover is in great condition. The record was just super dirty. And just dust. I just had to clean it really good with a carbon fiber brush, and we played it and it sounded as good as new. We were really knocked out by it. But so I got this one here, and then also I picked up this one here, Iron Butterfly In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, because every record collection has to have this.
I think it's a requirement.
It's a requirement, yeah. And actually, I'll be honest, never heard this. All I know is the title track, which takes up all of side 2. But again, this one was also in its shrink wrap. I pulled out the record from its sleeve. I looked at it, and also when I looked at both these, they all look like first pressings, like original first pressings. Did a little bit of research on my phone while I was looking at them, just to check that out. But again, this one here I looked at. Tons and tons and tons of dust, but that's easy to fix. And so I was just like, okay, I'll go ahead and check this one out here, just because of the condition and because they weren't priced that much. And that was what surprised me. I was seeing other stuff that was in much worse shape, priced for more. And I almost thought, did someone odd that these should be priced a lot less, yet they're in such good shape, in my opinion. The covers feel really solid. They don't feel weak. They, everything,
corners are good.
Yeah, the corners, yeah, everything. You just thought these seem to be in pretty good shape. I'm thinking, and there were some other ones I'd seen in the same, from the same seller. It's an antique mall, so you've got different sellers there. That were also still shrink wrap. Obviously, from the same, whoever they bought them from, it was the same collection that they bought them from. But so obviously, this person took good care of them. Probably left them in the original shrink wrap because they thought it would help, keep them protected, which it does offer some. I know some collectors say you should never leave the shrink wrap on your records because it would warp your record, it will tighten. But I think it has to be in really extreme heat for that to be an issue.
And at that point, you're already warping your record, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, but I will be taking the shrink wrap off of these because I do want to, give them some proper sleeves. But yeah, so these were two vintage purchases here, and as near as I can tell, they appear to be first pressings. And this one that we listened to before we started, sounds great. But there you go. So finally now, we've got one more thing here. And this was pre-ordered a while ago. So this was not purchased around the same time. But I pre-ordered this a while ago. You may remember in one of the previous unboxing videos, I mentioned picking up the Divine Symmetry LP from David Bowie, which is the alternate version of Hunky Dory. And they have yet to release a half-speed mastering of that album, and I've been picking up the David Bowie half-speed masterings as they've been arriving, pre-ordering them because I've been so pleased with the sound quality of them. And I lost my train of thought. Hold on.
Sound quality.
So pleased with the sound quality of them. So this is, of course, the pre-order just came in finally of Diamond Dogs. The other week I opened up Pinups. I had kind of missed that one when it was released, the half-speed mastering, the re-release of it. And so I unboxed it in a previous video. But here it is, Diamond Dogs by David Bowie. And as always, they've got these Obi strips here that fit in perfectly with the artwork. And it says here, half-speed master. This record was cut on a fully customized late Newman VMS 80 lathe with fully recapped electronics and restored masters of the original master from restored masters of the original master tapes with no additional processing on the transfer. So let's open this one up here and let you see it here. There we go. Got a little tear there in the wrap here. I'll tell you something. I can remember being a kid when this album came out. And there was maybe you remember this, there was a commercial on TV for this album that, had David Bowie looking like he does, even though this is painted artwork, looking like he does on the cover of this. And then he kind of takes a similar pose in the commercial, and then it becomes the album artwork. It kind of morphs. And again, I'm going off of memory here. Maybe
I vaguely remember something like that, but
maybe I should look on YouTube to see if I can find that commercial. But I remember it kind of morphing, the live action morphing into the actual album art. And I remember that commercial kind of like I was just a kid, and I really wasn't at that point that into popular music at that point yet. But I remember that had the image of him and this image here. And again, here we are with the shrink wrap off here. And of course, here's that Obi strip that I was mentioning here where it blends in with the artwork. Here it is without it. It's a gatefold. But I remember it just kind of like creeping me out a little bit as a kid, thinking, ooh, this is kind of scary. But yeah, here's the full. Good thing I didn't see this. I mean, I've seen this artwork now since, but this would have freaked me out even more probably as a little kid, seeing this whole full artwork here with the dog legs and everything. And here's the interior of the gatefold here. This is on standard black vinyl. And like all of these half-speed masterings, what they do here is instead of the record label logo, it's in the same style. It says Bowie instead with these half-speed masterings. And again, I've been very pleased with the sound quality of these. So I've just kind of decided, yeah, for the classic run during the 70s, I'm just going to pick up these as they come out. I'll pre-order them when they're announced, and then just get them and enjoy them, because I've been very pleased so far with what they've had so far. But there it is, Diamond Dogs, and very cool stuff. So yeah, there are some other things that I'm still waiting for, but and I wasn't expecting to go to the antique mall, but yeah, also for the price, I couldn't resist those 2 records and picking them up.
If the second one sounds as good as the first, then
yeah, I'm gonna be very happy. But I'm very happy with how that Monkees album is sounding. But there we go. That's this haul. As always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. And a big thank you to the patron supporters. Patron supporters.
Mighty.
There you go. Patron supporters do receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel. But mostly just thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate it. If you are a veteran or currently serving, I just want to say thank you for your service, because this is Memorial Day. My father was a 20-year veteran. So thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.